Before America became the land of diners, delis, and fast food chains, the continent's first cooks, the native tribes, were already crafting foods that carried the spirit of their people. They didn't call them sandwiches, but their breads, meats, and vegetables came together in hearty, handheld meals that nourished hunters, travelers, and entire communities. Each bite was more than sustenance. It was survival, ceremony, and identity. Today, we're uncovering 25 forgotten Native American sandwiches where every layer tells a story of the land and the people who lived with it. 1. The fry bread buffalo sandwich. Strength of the plains born out of resilience, fry bread became one of the most iconic native foods. Crispy on the outside and soft inside, it was the perfect canvas for bold fillings. One of the most beloved combinations among plains tribes was fry bread stuffed with shredded buffalo meat. Slow cooked over an open fire, the buffalo was seasoned with sage and wild onions, then layered inside the warm, golden bread. The result was a sandwich that was smoky, hearty, and deeply tied to the identity of the plains people. It wasn't just food. It was strength on the go, fuel for hunters and warriors. Over time, as buffalo herds dwindled and fry bread turned into a festival food, this powerful sandwich faded into memory. 2. The salmon bannock sandwich, spirit of the Northwest. For tribes of the Pacific Northwest, salmon was life. Smoked over cedar planks and packed with flavor, it found a perfect partner in bannock, a traditional flatbread adopted and adapted by many native groups. Imagine thick, flaky chunks of smoked salmon layered with wild greens and a drizzle of berry sauce, all tucked into warm bannock. This was more than a meal. It was the taste of rivers, forests, and coastal winds in one bite. Families gathered to share it after long fishing days, and it often appeared in community feasts. But as industrial fishing rose and bannock became less common in daily life, the salmon sandwich slipped into obscurity, leaving behind only stories told at gatherings. 3. The Three Sisters. Cornbread sandwich, a harvest in your hands. The Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, were at the heart of native agriculture across North America. Together, they represented balance, nourishment, and harmony with the earth. The Three Sisters. Cornbread sandwich brought them together in a portable feast. Thick slices of cornbread were split open and stuffed with roasted squash, spiced beans, and a sprinkle of sunflower seeds for crunch. The flavor was sweet, savory, and earthy all at once, a harvest you could hold in your hands. For festivals and seasonal gatherings, it symbolized gratitude for the land's gifts. As modern diets shifted away from traditional farming, the Three Sisters sandwich was forgotten, though its spirit still echoes in native gardens today. 4. The venison and cranberry bannock sandwich, a hunter's feast. Among northern tribes, venison was not just food. It was a bond between the hunter and the land. To honor the animal, every part was used and nothing went to waste. One of the most festive creations was the venison and cranberry bannock sandwich. Thick slices of tender roasted venison were layered inside bannock, alongside a tart cranberry relish made from wild berries gathered in autumn. The sweet-sour berries cut through the richness of the meat, creating a sandwich that was both hearty and celebratory. It wasn't an everyday meal, it was a feast, often shared during hunting season rituals. As canned meats and processed breads entered native diets, this regal sandwich slowly faded into obscurity, but its memory still lingers in seasonal ceremonies. 5. The acorn bread and turkey sandwich, California's woodland tradition. In the oak-covered valleys of California, acorns were a vital staple for countless tribes. Ground into meal and baked into dense, nutty breads, they provided the base for one of the region's most unique creations, the acorn bread and turkey sandwich. The bread was earthy and filling, while slices of wild turkey roasted with herbs like sage and manzanita, added protein and richness. Sometimes dried cranberries or pine nuts were tucked inside for extra flavor. This sandwich represented the bounty of the woodlands, a reminder that the forests provided everything needed for sustenance. But as acorn harvesting declined and traditional turkey hunts gave way to store-bought poultry, the acorn bread sandwich slipped into the shadows of history. 6. The wild rice and duck sandwich, spirit of the lakes. For the Ojibwe and other tribes of the Great Lakes, wild rice was more than food. It was sacred. Often called the food that grows on water, it was hand-harvested from canoes and celebrated in annual feasts. In the wild rice and duck sandwich, rice cakes made from cooked and pressed wild rice formed the bread, holding together slices of smoked duck breast and a handful of wild herbs. Nutty, smoky, and aromatic, it was a portable way to carry the spirit of the lakes into daily life. Families shared it at gatherings, hunters carried it for energy, and elders passed down its recipes. As industrial agriculture overshadowed traditional harvesting, the wild rice sandwich became rare. But in tribal communities, it remains a proud link to heritage. 7. The smoked trout flatbread sandwich. Mountains in a bite high in the Rocky Mountains, streams teemed with trout, a lifeline for tribes living in the rugged terrain. The smoked trout flatbread sandwich captured that mountain spirit. Fresh-caught trout was smoked slowly over juniper wood, flaked apart, and laid onto chewy flatbread made from cornmeal. It was topped with wild onions and a drizzle of pine sap syrup or berry reduction, balancing smokiness with brightness. Hunters carried it on long treks, and families shared it around campfires, its aroma mixing with mountain air. Today, smoked trout still graces fine menus, but the flatbread sandwich form, the handheld meal of mountain tribes, has nearly vanished, remembered only in stories of elders who fished the cold rivers. 8. The rabbit stew hand pie sandwich, survival of the plains. In the vast grasslands, rabbits were an essential source of protein, quick to hunt and easy to prepare. Tribes transformed them into a portable feast with the rabbit stew hand pie sandwich. Imagine rich rabbit stew, meat simmered with wild carrots, onions, and prairie herbs, sealed inside a pocket of bread dough or fry bread. Once baked or fried, it became a handheld sandwich, warm and filling, perfect for journeys across the plains. It was comfort food born from survival, a reminder that even in hardship, flavor mattered. As hunting declined and convenience foods took over, this creative hand pie sandwich faded, but its echoes live on in powwow foods and modern native kitchens. 9. The choke cherry bread sandwich, a taste of the Dakotas. The Dakota people cherished choke cherries, small tart berries that grew abundantly on the plains. They pounded them into pastes, mixed with meat, or baked them into bread. The choke cherry bread sandwich paired this berry bread with fillings like roasted venison or smoked turkey, creating a sweet, savory combination that was both practical and celebratory. The flavor was bold, tangy fruit against rich meat, and it carried the essence of Dakota prairies in every bite. Often shared during harvest feasts or special gatherings, it was a sandwich of identity as much as taste. Over time, chokecherry use dwindled as processed fruits replaced wild harvests, and the sandwich slipped into obscurity. But among Dakota elders, its memory remains a proud reminder of resourcefulness and tradition. 10. The sunflower seed and venison sandwich. Strength of the plains. On the open plains, tribes relied on both the hunt and the harvest. The sunflower seed and venison sandwich brought these worlds together. Strips of roasted venison were layered with crushed sunflower seeds, tucked into hearty flatbread made from cornmeal. The seeds added crunch and a nutty flavor, while the venison provided rich protein. Hunters carried this sandwich on long treks, and warriors ate it for strength before journeys. It was both portable and powerful, a true energy food of the plains. As sunflower seeds were industrialized and venison replaced by beef, this natural power sandwich disappeared, but its spirit still echoes in powwow foods that honor traditional ingredients. 11. The mesquite flatbread and bean sandwich, desert resilience. In the arid Southwest, mesquite trees provided both fuel and food. Tribes ground mesquite pods into flour, baking them into dense, slightly sweet flatbreads. Filled with spiced beans and roasted peppers, the mesquite flatbread and bean sandwich was a perfect meal for desert life. Rich in energy, portable, and full of flavor. The smoky sweetness of the bread balanced the earthiness of the beans, creating a taste that was as unique as the landscape itself. For Pueblo and Apache peoples, it represented resilience in harsh climates. But as wheat flour replaced mesquite and canned beans entered daily life, this desert treasure faded. Today, only a few traditional cooks keep its memory alive. 12. The wild onion and corn cake sandwich. Fields of flavor. Across the southern plains, wild onions sprouted each spring, a gift from the earth celebrated in seasonal feasts. The wild onion and corn cake sandwich turned that seasonal harvest into a simple but delicious creation. Cornmeal cakes, grilled on flat stones, were used as the bread, holding together sautéed wild onions, fresh greens, and sometimes shreds of smoked rabbit. It was savory, aromatic, and tied directly to the rhythms of nature. Families gathered to prepare it at spring festivals, where the smell of onions roasting filled the air. As processed onions replaced wild harvests and corn cakes gave way to store-bought loaves, the sandwich slipped from memory, a seasonal joy remembered mostly by elders. 13. The squash blossom fry bread sandwich, Pueblo's golden bite. In the Pueblos of the Southwest, squash blossoms were more than food. They were a symbol of fertility and life. The squash blossom fry bread sandwich celebrated this gift by pairing golden blossoms with crisp fry bread. Blossoms were lightly battered and fried until delicate and crunchy, then layered inside fry bread with roasted corn and a touch of chili sauce. The result was a vibrant sandwich, crunchy, smoky, and full of color, that reflected the desert's abundance. Pueblo families often enjoyed it during harvest festivals when blossoms were most plentiful. But as fry bread became more associated with modern powwow food and squash blossoms less accessible in daily cooking, this seasonal delight faded into obscurity. 14. The smoked eel corn cake sandwich, Rivers of the East. For tribes along the eastern rivers, eel was a vital food source, rich in protein and easy to smoke for preservation. The smoked eel corn cake sandwich showcased this river delicacy. Flaky, oily pieces of smoked eel were laid on corn cakes, then paired with pickled wild onions or cranberries for sharpness. The flavor was bold, smoky, tangy, and unforgettable. It was a staple during long winters when preserved eel was a lifeline for survival. Families would share it during seasonal feasts, celebrating the rivers that sustained them. But as fishing traditions declined and eels lost their place in American diets, this once essential sandwich slipped into memory. 15. The maple-cured salmon bannock sandwich, Algonquin elegance. In the forests of the Northeast, maple trees and salmon defined the diet of the Algonquin and neighboring peoples. The maple-cured salmon bannock sandwich united them into one rich creation. Salmon was cured with salt and maple syrup, giving it a sweet-salty balance, then smoked and layered inside bannock bread with fresh herbs. The combination was luxurious: earthy bread, smoky fish, and the natural sweetness of maple. It wasn't just food, it was a reflection of the land itself, where rivers and forests worked together to provide. As processed sugars replaced maple and modern bread replaced bannock, this elegant indigenous sandwich faded, but its flavors still inspire chefs seeking to revive native traditions. 16. The wild mushroom acorn bread sandwich. Forests' hidden wealth. In the oak forests of California, acorns were a sacred staple, turned into dense, nutty bread that carried families through winter. The wild mushroom acorn bread. Sandwich elevated this tradition by pairing earthy acorn bread with sautéed wild mushrooms, chanterelles, morels, or oyster mushrooms gathered from the forest floor. Sometimes a drizzle of pine nut oil or a sprinkle of herbs was added, creating a sandwich that was meaty without needing meat. It was fragrant, hearty, and deeply tied to the woodland harvest cycle. As commercial breads and store-bought mushrooms replaced these local traditions, this elegant forest sandwich faded into obscurity, remembered only in tribal kitchens that still honor acorn harvests. 17. The deer heart and corn flatbread sandwich. Ceremony of strength among plains tribes, the deer was revered and nothing went to waste. The deer heart and corn flatbread sandwich carried deep spiritual meaning. Thinly sliced, fire-roasted deer heart was laid onto corn flatbread, seasoned with sage and wild onions. This wasn't an everyday food. It was often prepared for ceremonies, honoring both the animal and the hunters. The flavor was intense, rich, and smoky, unlike anything else. Eating it was not only nourishment but also a ritual, believed to give strength and courage. As traditions were suppressed and hunting shifted, this ceremonial sandwich became rare, existing now as a story passed down by elders rather than a common meal. Sandwich 18. The blue corn and turkey sandwich. Hopi's sacred colors. For the Hopi people, blue corn was not just food. It was sacred, tied to their identity and prayers. The blue corn and turkey sandwich was a festive creation that combined this sacred grain with roasted wild turkey. Blue corn flatbread was baked until soft and chewy, then filled with slices of seasoned turkey and a touch of chili paste. The deep blue of the bread contrasted with the golden turkey, making the sandwich visually striking as well as delicious. It represented resilience, blending a sacred ingredient with the bounty of the hunt. Today, blue corn is still cherished in Hopi kitchens, but the sandwich form, rich, colorful, and symbolic, has mostly been forgotten outside its homeland. 19. The bear fat fry bread sandwich. Power of the hunt. In northern tribes, bear hunting was both a dangerous challenge and a sacred tradition. Every part of the animal was used, and bear fat was especially prized for its richness. The bear fat fry bread sandwich featured fry bread fried in rendered bear fat, then stuffed with shredded venison or elk and wild herbs. The bread was golden and crisp, carrying a deep flavor unlike any other oil could create. Eating it wasn't just about taste, it was about absorbing the spirit of strength and resilience from the bear itself. Today, bear hunting is rare and often regulated, and the sandwich has nearly vanished, surviving mostly as a memory tied to the bravery of hunters. 20. The cactus paddle. Flatbread sandwich, desert's green treasure. In the deserts of the Southwest, the prickly pear cactus was more than a plant, it was survival. Tribes sliced and grilled its paddles called noples until smoky and tender, then layered them with beans or turkey inside flatbread. The cactus paddle flatbread sandwich was tangy, juicy, and satisfying, offering hydration and nourishment in one bite. Its flavor was unique, slightly sour, slightly smoky, perfectly balanced by earthy fillings. It was eaten in daily meals as well as during long desert journeys. As modern diets moved away from wild cactus and into packaged foods, this vibrant desert sandwich was left behind, though nopales still appear in southwestern cooking today. 21. The wild berry and honey corn cake sandwich, sweet celebration. Not every native sandwich was savory. some celebrated sweetness. The wild berry and honey corn cake sandwich was a festive treat made by splitting corn cakes and filling them with mashed wild berries, strawberries, chokecherries, blueberries, sweetened with local honey. The result was sticky, colorful, and joyful, often served at seasonal gatherings or harvest feasts. It wasn't just dessert, it was a reminder of nature's generosity, of how the land provided both sustenance and delight. Children especially loved these handheld sweets, their fingers stained with juice. But as refined sugar and processed sweets entered native diets, this natural dessert sandwich faded away, surviving mostly in elder stories and special powwow recipes. 22. The pumpkin and venison bannock sandwich, harvest of the plains. For many tribes, pumpkin was a sacred crop, grown alongside corn and beans in the Three Sisters tradition. The pumpkin and venison bannock sandwich combined roasted pumpkin slices with tender strips of venison tucked into warm bannock bread. Sweet, savory, and smoky, it represented both the harvest and the hunt in one bite. Families enjoyed it during autumn gatherings when crops were brought in and hunting season began. As processed breads replaced bannock and pumpkin became a seasonal novelty, this hearty sandwich faded from daily life, but its spirit still lingers in harvest festivals. 23. The buffalo and sage fry bread sandwich, ceremony of strength. The buffalo was life for plains tribes, providing food, shelter, and clothing. To honor this sacred animal, cooks created the buffalo and sage fry bread sandwich. Shredded buffalo meat was seasoned with sage and onions, then piled into golden fry bread rounds. The aroma was earthy, the taste bold, and each bite carried the memory of ceremonies that celebrated the buffalo's gift. This sandwich wasn't just nourishment, it was a prayer in edible form. As buffalo herds declined under colonization, the tradition waned. But at powwows today, echoes of this sacred sandwich remain. 24. The cranberry and wild turkey sandwich, feast of the forest. Long before it became a Thanksgiving cliché, native tribes combined tart cranberries with roasted wild turkey in a sandwich-like feast. The cranberry and wild turkey sandwich layered smoky turkey meat with mashed cranberries inside corn cakes or bannock, offering a perfect balance of sweet and savory. It was a celebratory food, eaten at seasonal feasts that gave thanks to the land. Over time, as turkey became commercialized and cranberry sauce came in cans, the original forest-born sandwich slipped into obscurity. Today, it stands as a reminder that the first holiday meals of this land were deeply tied to its natural bounty. 25. The sunflower honey cake sandwich. Sweet medicine sunflowers were sacred across many tribes, providing seeds, oil, and medicine. The sunflower honey cake sandwich turned them into a dessert unlike any other. Cakes made from ground sunflower seeds and cornmeal were split and filled with wildflower honey, sometimes mixed with berries or nuts. Sticky, rich, and energizing, it was a favorite at community gatherings, offering both nourishment and joy. Children adored it, and elders praised its healing properties. But as refined sugar and store-bought sweets became common, this natural treasure was forgotten. Today, only rare recipes recall the sunflower's role in native sweets. From smoky trout by mountain streams to honey-sweet sunflower cakes in the plains, these 25 forgotten Native American sandwiches tell a story of resilience, identity, and the deep relationship between people and the land. They remind us that food is not just fuel, it is memory, ceremony, and survival pressed between layers of bread, bannock, or fry bread. Though many of these creations have slipped from daily life, their stories endure. And perhaps one day they will inspire us to bring them back, honoring the first peoples of this land with every bite. So tell me, which of these native sandwiches would you want to taste first?